Attention agents of Spectre, precious stones are but one of our globally traded commodities. One stone in particular rarely sees the light of day, but with our calculated efforts we have secured a handful for tactical negotiations. I have personally planted one of our jewelers within MI6 to distract James Bond to ensure that he does not interfere with Operation Bloodstone. Prepare to discuss your role in this mission on this week's Bond Report! Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris, aka the Bearded Blofeld. Let's get into it. So today we're talking video games. And since I know you've already seen the thumbnail for this video, it's not a secret that we're talking about the past.
My parents died when I was young.
Whoa, not that far back. I'm not qualified to handle that conversation. I'm talking about the much overlooked Daniel Craig cinematic video game adventure, Bloodstone 007. When this game came out in November of 2010, I feel like many of us were feeling hopeful for a follow-up to the previous 007 adventure, Quantum of Solace. This game picks up as a standalone adventure, which really is what Craig needed. But it's set perfectly behind Quantum of Solace to where all of the great tech that MI6 was using in Quantum is here. But now it carries over to this adventure, with smartphones, which really helps keep it from feeling too dated. Daniel Craig and Judi Dench both reprise their roles, and Joss Stone has a solid Bond theme song, I'll Take It All, with a fully produced title sequence that combines elements of Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. All in all, it looks and sounds really on par for what easily could have been Craig's third film. And maybe it should have been. For the 007 video gaming franchise, we've seen several names come and go. However, at this time, Activision owned the licensing and called up developers Bizarre Creation, the team who developed Project Gotham Racing, and an original, albeit very cliche third-person time-based run-and-gun adventure titled The Club, which Bloodstone does share the same engine with. And with the latter, they really maximized the hardware, running a solid 30 frames per second on PS3 and Xbox, and boy does she look polished in almost every way. Levels have you moving around in some globe-trotting locations, including Istanbul, Monaco, Siberia, Bangkok, but it all starts off in Athens, which is an exciting action-packed level. It opens up strong within the first 15 minutes. Bond is equipped with his trusty silenced Walther PPK, and we eventually see many other franchise favorite firearms, including the Walther P99 as well. Roy Kinnear reprises his role as Tanner and tends to kind of guide you through missions and gear updates. Like I said, in the first 15 minutes, you're doing stealth shooting, takedowns, and a gorgeous boat chase showcasing the beauty of Greece. Moving into a villa, you'll be taking down more guards, all while learning how to use cover so you don't die. And you'll notice that there is an absence of body armor in this game. And since you heal automatically, as long as you pay attention to the screen, it kind of goes blood red when you're starting to die. So get to cover quick. Luckily for you, there's cover virtually everywhere in the game. Like if it's a stone structure, if it's a ledge, a small wall, a box, you can get behind it. And just as quickly as you're in the building, you're right back out and taking off in Craig's Quantum Gray Aston Martin DBS for a full driving level showcasing the DBS and its speed. But I will say the driving missions are not very forgiving. You're kind of in a pursuit of a target, and if that target gets too far away, it's mission over and you're restarting. And trust me, it doesn't take much. One crash, one spin out, and you're backwards. That could be all it takes, and boom, you're restarting from the last checkpoint. Moving on to Istanbul. This level drops the intensity down a bit, as well as the color palette, which you have to have that contrast, I guess, where you see a lot of browns and gray tones kind of washing over the environment. It's a lot of greens as well. However, you do have a few chances to interact with the environment and learn how to use certain items, including your cell phone, for its detective-like features, including scanning computers, showing you where the next bad guy is, as well as what weapon he's equipped with, which is really helpful, trust me, especially when you're trying to pick out which gun to use. Plus, you can target certain explosions that can take down multiple enemies at once. Think of it like, gas canisters, forklift gas tanks. Most vehicles, if you shoot them enough, they'll explode as well. This level is also the first, and sadly the only appearance, of the classic 1964 Aston Martin DB5. And you get a solid gangster car chase throughout the city and down by the docks. It's important to note as well that it feels very different from the other Aston Martin DBS. So it's good to see that they didn't just reskin the same driving mechanics, and we've seen that happen time and time again in arcade racers. You get in one car, you've gotten in all of them. These two cars actually feel very different. Monaco. This is where we see 007 return to form, as we're introduced to Nicole Hunter, aka Nikki, played by the song title artist Joss Stone. She picks Bond up at the airport in a super sleek, white 2007 Koenigsegg CCXR, which is a clear product placement, but honestly, one I don't mind at all considering what it is. We're also introduced to our first real protagonist, who goes by the name of Pomerov. With Nikki being a socialite herself, running in the right circles, she explains to Bond who Pomerov is and that he has just acquired a casino. And for this level, we see Bond working alongside Nikki, and together they attempt to break into Pomerov's safe. Nikki being a distraction while Bond sneaks his way through the level and into Pomerov's private quarters. This level is fantastic and is filled with fun environments, secrets, stealth kills, and disabling security cameras. We see new weapons in this level, including the famous MP7 that we saw Paloma dual wielding alongside her two-tone PPK in No Time to Die. And guys, I gotta tell you, this is hands down my favorite level in the game. It's just fun. It's Bond. Siberia. After cleaning out Pomerov's safe and getting the information they needed, Nikki and Bond are off to Siberia, where Bond will be posing as Nikki's bodyguard, getting them into Pomerov's Siberian refinery plant. This level sees Bond sneaking into the laboratories, scanning for more files, and then attempt to find out what Pomerov is up to. These levels have a good mix of environments, and I like that Bond's clothing changes when you're going from level to level in each new location. It kind of helps break up, some of the mundane things and makes the experience just feel more cinematic. Now, you're in Siberia for 4 chapters of the game, but with a variety of indoor and outdoor levels, it really helps it feel like you're on the move and reaching a goal. It doesn't feel repetitive like some games do.
Hurry, come on!
On the third act, you're back behind the wheel of the DBS, but this time it's amped up with so many environmental elements, including the refinery exploding all around you, large military vehicles getting in the way, which you can interact with, of course, as well, a helicopter hovering above you, and Pomerov on a train that you're ultimately chasing down. Definitely got some Die Another Day vibes while you're racing over the frozen lake, and some great cutscenes of the DBS making its way from land to the ice river and more. And while Nikki is in the passenger seat kind of chatting your ear off, stating the obvious, like, "James, look out! What are you doing? That's the river!" And while yes, these are cliche moments, it never took away from the experience on my first or even 10th time through some of these fun levels. But one thing I really have to give so much praise to is the environmental elements thrown into the driving sequences. You really get a sense of speed, smoke, ice, rain on all of these levels. At the end of this level, you do see Pomerov jet off in a K-class SAV jet copter. And we learn that because you can actually see in where Bond is talking with M, and they're running that quantum kind of computer program. Bond and Nikki don't wait though, and they take pursuit in a very large, ludicrously large military-grade hovercraft that is the size of a gunship. I kid you not, this thing is so stupid big. But it makes it fun. I mean, it's a really fun level too, and I'm not complaining at all. I would rather have gigantic, vehicles than tiny, puny little ones. Side note, on this level, you also get access to my favorite Bond weapon of all time, and that is the UMP submachine gun by HK. It's the same one you see 007 holding at the end of Casino Royale, where he's over top of Mr. White, and the teaser poster for Quantum of Solace. Now, after all of this running around and jumping from oversized hovercraft to oversized helicopter jet, and finally catching up to Pomerov, we see Bond finally dispatch him by opening an airlock door and seeing him get sucked out and presumably drowns. We don't really know what happens to him. I mean, they're just in a body of water. Like, why didn't they just swing back around and get him? But according to the storyline, like, that's him. He's done. He's dead. So, moving on.
Captain, are you sure your men can handle this? The safe destruction of all those bioweapons?
Bioweapons? What bioweapons?
They jump to a cutscene explaining that the bioweapons don't exist because that's way too much paperwork and accountability for their governments to want to handle. Plus, since no one that matters was harmed, it didn't leak to the press. I mean, who cares, right? Oh, how life imitates art. But at this point, we're on the third bad guy that Bond has tracked down, and we're still not to the top guy. So it's off to follow another lead via a cell phone call that Tanner and Q Branch have decoded from the phone, and it leads them to Colonel Ping. This kind of sets up everything to head to Bangkok. Ping is just one more element and kind of feels like a bit of an excuse to get Bond to go to another environment. But again, they show the quantum scene, using the computer program, and it moves the game along. I got to tell you, though, with the death of Pomerov, it almost felt like the game was going to end at that point, and I was kind of shocked. I was like, wow, that was quick. But I knew we had like 8 more levels to go, so it was like, wait a minute, there's a lot more here, so hold on. So we're off again to a new location with a new lead that is played by a nobody that seems to just be another stepping stone. For me, this is clearly when the game started to get somewhat predictable. But having said that, we're rewarded with one of the coolest levels designed in the game via the whale-containing aquarium that is 3 separate gigantic chambers and a spiraling climb to the top. Now, upon meeting with Colonel Ping, he's assassinated right in plain sight, and we find Bond chasing down his killer. This chase moves to the colorful rooftops of Bangkok and plays out similarly to the driving levels where you'll be quickly moving through a linear path, mixing in jump gaps, ladder climbs, all while it's raining and lit up via the colorful neon signs and advertisements that give this level a very distinct look and feel. When you finally reach and catch up with him, he tells you that Rack will kill you both, before he jumps down and slips into the most ridiculously oversized dump truck I have ever seen in my life. Look at this thing. It takes up the entire street. Seriously, is every vehicle in this game just going to be massively oversized? Like, who's compensating here? From here, Bond jumps into a random tow truck. Not the most spy vehicle ever, but he's working with what he has. And the chaos in this chase scene is equally entertaining, as the truck's handling is just god-awful. And you really got to pay attention to your speed and obstacles thrown in front of you, especially on 007 mode, because it can be quite unforgiving here. Back on foot, you're moving through downtown Bangkok, dispatching enemies left and right, and you come across a strip club and a guy named Silky, who is clearly a Jim Jeffries ripoff. Like, look at this guy. Him and Jim Jeffries could be twins. It's all the way down to the voice, the hairstyle.
Is there some way I can be of service?
I'm looking for a man.
What kind of man?
Your kind of man.
But Bond appeals to his sleazeball nature, if you will, reminding him that, Rack is skimming 20% off of his business, so Silky gives up where he can find Rack's boat. They have a couple words, and off we go again with the next clue to finding our main protagonist. I will say the foot levels of Bangkok are really well designed. I do like these environments. You get kind of a different mixture. There's some different colors. There's some kind of rundown areas. You end up going through like a grocery store at one point in time. It really kind of has some nice variety to it. But this time when Bond confronts Rack, he ends up getting himself captured, beaten up, and honestly threatened to be skinned by Rack. Rack actually has a platinum diamond knife, which I really enjoyed. It's kind of a cool weapon. And if you think about it, we really haven't had a villain with an awesome kind of blade weapon since Dr. Kaufman and Stamper in Tomorrow Never Dies. So I kind of welcome this, even if it might be a little cultural appropriation here, but it's still a really cool blade. Burma. This is where things start to get pretty challenging. Bond faces off against some bigger elements, including tanks, in the first of 2 encounters with Rack in his airship. And I gotta tell you, it took me forever to figure out the first one. I literally ran through every bit of ammo available in the level until I finally figured out that you've got to work your way over to this crane in order to defeat him. We get these beautiful cutscenes here showing what the dam looks like and kind of giving you some scale and scope of the level. And running through Rack's dam fortress, you get another creative use of environment. This is a really cool lift that forces you to kind of shoot on the move, which is not something we had seen yet in the game. Speaking of something that we haven't talked about yet, we should talk about the 007 shoots. And you've probably seen a few of them, but you get these 3 yellow icons that kind of pop up, and you have an option. It's basically, instead of using your manual aim, it's kind of like auto aim, auto kill. So for every stealth takedown you do, you earn one of these. And basically, you hold one button and you press the trigger button, and you will dispatch an enemy at once. I typically like to save them up and go ahead and pop 3 at a time because I'm pretty sure you earn a trophy that way, but it's just more fun that way too, honestly. But that's kind of a cool little bonus thing they added in. Has it been done before? Yeah, it's not super original, but that for me didn't take away from the fact that it's still kind of a 007-esque move. So when you finally meet Rack for the second and final time, there is another cutscene that has our 2 characters face off in some hand-to-hand combat. 007, of course, getting the better of Rack using the environment. And here we have yet another cold kill for Craig, which I really enjoyed that element of his tenure. It made me feel like 007 truly was a professional killer first and foremost, and everything else was secondary. Now, in this scene, Bond tells Rack at this point he already knows who he's working for, so we cut to the final scene, and it's time to circle back around to Monaco.
Monocrystalline silicon wafer enhanced with copper indium diselenide to bring the cost of electricity down to less than €1 per kilowatt hour.
Yes, that's right. Our good-hearted it girl socialite is the main villain all along. And I will say that this one did genuinely surprise me. But when Bond got the knife, it clicked, because Nicole has her own line of jewelry. And she has been using Pomerov's facility to create her custom pieces. Just like the knife created for Rack here, this is how Bond knew it was Nicole. When he finally had Rack's knife in his hand, and I'll go ahead and freeze a picture here, you can clearly see that there is a logo stamped on the knife itself, which is most likely Nicole's logo. And if you look closely, there is a giant blood diamond set within the handle. Henceforth, this knife is the Bloodstone knife. And I love how they don't spoon feed this to you. I feel like this is kind of like a bit of a secret that if you don't go back and play it again, you may miss this element completely in the game. So we're back to driving through the streets of Monaco again, showing off some just stunning visuals. And while none of these vehicles have any gadgets, I still thoroughly enjoy all of these driving levels. Catching up to Nicole really will take some focus though, because one wrong crash and she is gone. And once you finally do catch up to her, you are forced to make her crash and spin out on the bridge, where these two finally come face to face with all the veils lifted.
Is he meeting like this?
Drop the gun. Move away from the railing. Nicole, drop the gun!
Or what? You'll shoot me?
I'd prefer to bring you back alive, but it makes no difference to me.
When did you figure it out?
That's not important. I want to know why. Why did you do it?
There was a man. A rich and powerful man. I would have done anything for him. He asked me to help him. At first it was innocent.
And then?
I thought I could prove myself by destroying Pomerov's operation.
You did it for love?
No. You of all people should know. I didn't want to grow old, alone, and poor.
Who? Who is it?
It won't make a difference.
I want a name.
You don't understand. He's everywhere. He's bigger than you, bigger than MI6, bigger than everything. And he's watching us, right now. There is no escape.
Nicole, down! Get down!
Bond? Are you there? Come in, 007. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
We've been concerned about you, 007. What happened?
I'm fine, Em. But I think you're gonna need a new contact in Monaco. If you need me, you know how to reach me. Bond out.
I said it earlier and I'll say it again. This should have been Craig's third film, hands down. But alas, we got it in video game format. And just in time too, because this dropped like shortly after MGM filed for bankruptcy. We may not have a movie, but by God, a video game will save us. But I gotta say, I love this game. It uses a lot of great elements from some other popular titles of the time, including Batman Arkham Asylum's detective mode, basically just reskinned as Bond using his cell phone. One thing we got to talk about is all the different various animations they're using for takedowns. You've got stealth takedowns, regular takedowns, pull over the ledge takedowns, and your enemies all react too to where you shoot them. So, headshot is pretty much one and done, while shooting somebody in the foot or the arm may cause them to kind of jump around or stumble back. I felt like the pacing of this game was actually pretty good. It ebbs and flows when it needs to, keeping a good balance of the action, the story. And as a Bond fan, I can definitely tell you there are fewer plot holes in Bloodstone than there are in Spectre or No Time to Die. It's kind of ludicrous, but this game just works. The story works. Is it a little drawn out in times? Yeah, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. It's a game. And had this gone to become a film, they could have cleaned all these things up, taken out maybe 3 or 4 different guys. That's what made the game exciting. It kept the drive going for the game. Now, in retrospect of both of those films, one could argue that the man who Nicole is talking about at the end is Blofeld in Spectre. Could it be? I suppose you'll never know. I don't think that was the intention, given where Eon was at with this release, but Quantum, as we've all accepted, was a division of Spectre. And Rudy, as Nicole calls him, could have been a Dominic Green or Guy Haynes type player within the organization. And that's why this game works so well even in 2023 in 4K, because it ages very well within the entire Craig story arc. Just like Everything or Nothing did for Pierce Brosnan, it's a special glimmer of that extra film both actors should have gotten. But I would rather see both of these stories in video game format than not see them at all. We haven't seen a new James Bond video game since 007 Legends. And we're not even going to acknowledge that. No. Ugh. Just take it away. Take it away. Oh, God, just get it out of here. We do know that IO Interactive has been commissioned to make the next 007 video game, Project 007. And from what we've been seeing, it's going to be based off of the engine used for Hitman World of Assassination. And that's going to be coming to the PS5 and the Xbox One X. But when will it be coming? That's a conversation for another time. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, Merry Christmas, 007.